I've been thinking about something my daughter said to me last year. We were on the phone, one of our regular Sunday calls. We were talking about ordinary things, her work, the weather, my health. And then there was a pause, one of those pauses that feels different. And she said, very quietly, "You know, Dad, you were always there, but I don't think you were ever really with us." I didn't know what to say to that. So I said something like, "I did my best," or "I was working hard for the family," something like that. She said, "I know," and we moved on to something else, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since.
My name is David. I'm 72 years old, and I'm starting to understand what she meant. I was there, physically, every night, every weekend, every birthday, every holiday, every school event that mattered, but I wasn't present. I was in the room, but I wasn't in the moment, and I don't think I understood the difference until it was too late to do anything about it. I grew up in a time when being a good father meant showing up and providing. You went to work, you brought home a paycheck, you kept the house running. You didn't complain, you didn't talk about your feelings, you just did what needed to be done. My own father was like that. He worked in manufacturing for 40 years, same plant, same shift. He came home tired, ate dinner, watched the news, went to bed. I don't remember him ever asking me about my day, not once. But he was there. He paid for everything. He fixed things when they broke. He showed up. And I thought that was enough. So when I became a father myself, that's what I did. I married Linda in 1975. We had our daughter, Rebecca, 2 years later. Our son, Michael, came 3 years after that. I worked in sales, regional territory, long hours, a lot of driving, a lot of meetings, a lot of time on the phone. But I always came home. I never missed dinner. I never stayed out late. I was always there when the kids woke up in the morning and when they went to bed at night. I thought that mattered. And it did matter, I know it did. But it wasn't enough. And I didn't know that until much, much later. There are moments I remember now that I didn't pay attention to at the time. Rebecca was maybe 10 or 11. She came into the living room one evening while I was reading the paper. She had something in her hand, a drawing, I think, or maybe a project from school. She stood next to my chair and said, "Dad, look what I made." I glanced at it, said something like, "That's nice, honey, good job," and I went back to the paper. She stood there for a few more seconds, then she left. I don't even remember what the drawing was, or if it was a drawing at all. But I remember her standing there, waiting, and I remember not giving her what she was waiting for. There was another time. Michael must have been 7 or 8. We were at one of his baseball games. I was sitting in the bleachers with the other parents, but I wasn't watching the game. I was thinking about work. A deal that was falling apart, a client I needed to call on Monday. I was there, sitting in the sun with the other parents, but I was somewhere else entirely. At some point, Michael hit the ball. I heard people clapping. I looked up just as he was rounding first base. He looked over at me to see if I'd seen it. I clapped, I smiled, I gave him a thumbs up. But I hadn't seen it, not really. And he knew. I could see it in his face, this small flicker of disappointment that he tried to hide. He kept running, and I kept clapping, and the moment passed. But I think about that moment now more than I think about almost anything else from those years. It wasn't just the kids. Linda would try to talk to me about her day, about something she'd read, about a problem with her sister, or a worry about one of the kids. And I'd be sitting right there across from her, at the dinner table, on the couch, in bed at night, but I was always half listening,
always with one part of my mind somewhere else, on work, on money, on whatever problem I thought I needed to solve. She'd be in the middle of a sentence, and I'd realize I hadn't heard the last 30 seconds. I'd try to catch up, nod at the right times, say something that sounded appropriate. Sometimes she'd stop mid-sentence and just look at me. "You're not listening," she'd say. And I'd say, I'm listening." But I wasn't, not really. And after a while, she stopped telling me things. Not all at once, gradually. The conversations got shorter, more practical, more about logistics and schedules and who was picking up what, less about feelings, less about the things that mattered. I told myself it was just life. That's what happens when you've been married for 20 years, 30 years. You settle into a rhythm. You don't need to talk about everything. But that wasn't it. She'd stopped sharing because I'd stopped listening. And by the time I realized it, I didn't know how to get it back.
After Linda died, things got quieter. The kids came for the funeral. They stayed for a few days. They helped me sort through things. They were kind, careful, but there was a distance. Not hostility, not anger, just distance. Rebecca lives about 4 hours away now. Michael lives on the other coast. They call, they visit once or twice a year, but we don't talk about anything real. We talk about their jobs, their kids, the weather, my health. We don't talk about the past. We don't talk about what we lost or what we never had. We just maintain. And I think that's because I taught them very early that that's what we do. We show up, we're polite, we're present in body, but we don't go deeper than that. I taught them that by example, every day for years, and now that's all we know how to do with each other. I've been trying to figure out when it started, when I started being there but not present. I don't think it was one moment, one decision. I think it was just how I learned to be, from my father, from the men around me, from the world I grew up in that told me being a man meant being steady and reliable and not too emotional. I thought being present meant being physically there. I didn't understand that presence is something else entirely. It's attention, it's focus, it's being in the moment with the person in front of you instead of in your own head. It's looking at your daughter's drawing and really seeing it, really asking about it, really caring about what it means to her. It's watching your son round the bases and not thinking about anything else in that moment except him. It's listening to your wife not just with your ears, but with your full self, putting down the paper, turning off the worry, being with her. I didn't know how to do that, and by the time I started to understand what I was missing, everyone had learned to expect less from me, and I let them, because it was easier than trying to change. Last year, Rebecca and her family came to visit for Thanksgiving. Her daughter, my granddaughter, is 7 now. Her name is Emma. We were sitting at the table after dinner. Emma was telling me about something that happened at school, some project she was working on, and halfway through her story, I realized my mind had drifted. I was thinking about whether I'd turned off the oven, about whether I needed to take something out for tomorrow, and I caught myself. I stopped. I looked at her, really looked at her. And I said, "Wait, tell me that part again. I want to make sure I understand." She looked surprised, but she told me again, and I listened, fully, without thinking about anything else. When she finished, I asked her a question about it, a real question, and her face lit up. It was such a small thing, but I could see what it meant to her, to be heard, to be seen. And I thought, this is what I should have been doing all along, not just with Emma, with Rebecca, with Michael, with Linda. This, right here, this simple act of paying attention. I thought it was complicated. I thought it required something I didn't have, but it doesn't. It just requires choosing to be in the moment instead of somewhere else. And I spent 70 years not making that choice. I don't know how to fix what I didn't do. I can't go back. I can't give Rebecca and Michael the father who was truly present when they needed him. I can't give Linda the husband who listened, who saw her, who was with her in all the ordinary moments that make up a life. Those moments are gone, and I was there for all of them, but I wasn't present. I was thinking about work, about money, about problems that felt urgent at the time and don't matter at all now. I was worrying about the future while the present was happening right in front of me, and I missed it. I missed my children's childhoods. I missed my wife's inner life. I missed the chance to build something deeper than just showing up. I was there, but I never really was with them. And now I'm 72 years old, and they're grown, and Linda's gone, and all I have left are memories of moments I was physically in, but not actually part of, and I can't get them back. If you're still here, thank you for listening to this. I don't know why I needed to say it, maybe just to say it out loud, to name it. If there's someone in your life right now, sitting across from you, talking to you, needing you, put down whatever you're holding, turn toward them, be there, not just in body, in every way that matters. Don't wait as long as I did to figure out the difference. That's all.